Welcome! Today we're going to review the Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure book. And I am joined by my player, Richie. Say hello.
Hello.
And I am the dungeon master for our group. And we're just gonna go over what we thought of the book and some of our experiences. We'll start off with the overview. Then we will get into spoilers a little bit, and then we'll go into in depth at the end of the video. So, first, let's just say, do you recommend this? For me personally, this was my first adventure as a DM, and I thought it was pretty easy to go through. The book is generally well written and well organized. There are a few issues like I think they didn't do that good of a job of condensing all the NPCs and talking about their motivations. So I kind of wrote in my notebook like each building, who's in the building, and basically what they do or their relationship to each other. There's a lot of NPCs to deal with. The other main issue is some of the enemies, the main antagonists, particularly the big bad guy of the story, doesn't have a clear motivation written in the book. So you're gonna have to kind of come up with your own idea as you prepare the adventure. But you don't get to the main antagonist for a while, so it kind of gives you a long time to think about it as you've already gotten started with playing. So yeah, I'd say it's a good first adventure. It's got a lot of like cliche D&D stuff, but I think that's actually a strong point of it. It's like people who are new to D&D want to fight goblins and trolls and stuff like that, and orcs. So yeah, it's kind of what you expect D&D to be, I think, and I think that's actually a good thing. So how about you, Richie, as a player? What did you think?
Well, being a new player, I had a like a basic idea of what was involved, but the mechanics were probably as a good start as a new player because the mechanics were fairly um, uh, easy to understand, and
Yeah,
I
you were fighting goblins and pretty basic enemies at the start.
yeah, and I remember feeling like anything could happen. It was kind of exciting. Um, my my was only two of us, and but I thought we worked really well as a team. That our attributes um, matched each other well, or was
Yeah,
complementary.
I think they work together relatively well, but you didn't have a like a frontline fighter, so I did have to kind of scale back some of the combat in the first section, especially.
Sure. Yeah, and I had listened to another group doing it, and there were four of them, so they did have more enemies. Um, but we were real cautious. We moved slowly through, um, and it took a long time before we really did have a big confrontation, um, which I really enjoyed. The sneaking around and getting through things without just marching in and slugging it out with our opponents.
Okay, one more thing before we get through this first recommendation section. So you've played about 30 sessions in that adventure, and now we've done 30 sessions in our homebrew thing that I came up with. Um, compared Comparing the two, like for me, I'd say the main difference is that I was able to every single session in the adventure book, I was able to find a way to that you guys should be in combat. You were in combat every single game session. Um, so once we got into my homebrew stuff at the beginning, especially, you did a lot of wandering around, shopping and talking to NPCs. There was a at least a few sessions where you didn't fight at all. Uh, what
Yeah.
did you think about the pacing of the adventure book compared to other stuff you've done since then?
Well, I enjoyed the homebrew because of the puzzle solving aspect of it. Um, I guess I also liked I guess it was further into when we were in the not Cragmore, but in the caves
Wave
at the
Echo
end.
Cave?
Yeah. There
Okay.
was at least one person, one thing that happened there where we were able to more or less think our way through it rather than fighting. I like that.
Okay, yeah, we'll go into the details of that later. But yeah, cool. So I'd say we both recommend it and think it was a fun experience. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now, if that's all you want to watch for the video, please give me a like, and if you want to see more, you can subscribe. Next, we're going to go a little more in depth, and then at the end of the video, we'll kind of start going into specifics of what we did in our adventure. If you want to see the entire adventure, it's up on my channel. We got about 29 episodes of Lost Mine of Phandelver, which was heavily edited, so it's just the game if you want to go check it out. So yeah, let's look at the book itself. It starts you off in on a trail, and you get an ambush by some goblins. At that point, I didn't really know what I was doing yet, but I remember you snuck up on the goblins, and you basically figured out, oh, we're being ambushed right away. So what did you think of that whole first section, which in the book is called Goblin Arrows, which is the ambush and the Cragmaw hideout?
Well, I liked the fact that we'd spaced it so I was in front, and at the point where we saw horses with arrows sticking out of them, it seemed obvious that it was the kind of place where the road was blocked, and by how the arrows were sticking into this into the horse, it was pretty obvious where they were shot from. So then, I just snuck in and I remember saying that as I left, I just was going off the road, and then I added in that I was trying to be quiet about it, and that was my first roll where I had to roll to see how I would do,
Yeah, cool.
and I was lucky.
So yeah, I've seen other groups where people just kind of blunder up to the horses and check them out.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not everybody's gonna get the ambush point. They realize something has happened and they think, oh, this is something for me to investigate. So they go up to look at it. Uh, but yeah, I would say for DMs, this part is pretty easy to. Um, Things are probably not gonna go wrong here because you've only got a couple goblins. But if you have a small party, like two people like we did, I think I had to have less goblins. I can't remember
You
exactly.
had goblins on one side of the road, and on the other parties I heard play the game, there were goblins on both sides.
Okay, yeah, and then they suggest in the book that once they get to about half health, that they should retreat. And that's a way for them to kind of show you the way to Kragmaw hideout to kind of lead you that
We
way.
we killed them all so fast.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I think you just killed them all, right? And then you
We
had to
we
find the
did.
tracks.
We wiped them out without getting even a scratch.
So yeah, it's a possibility there that the players will like kill all of them and then just be like, well, okay, let's keep going to town. So it's possible you will actually go to town before going to Cragmaw hideout.
Um, well, there was some hint because there was
I
you,
think you
I
guys were
think,
doing perception checks looking around and you found footprints.
yeah, yeah, that sounds right. Then I
I didn't
don't
take
remember if
detailed
we,
notes at the start of our campaign.
yeah, and we probably would have blundered into a trap after that, but I think I had a lucky roll when it came to moving down the path.
Okay, cool. And so we're still trying to keep it not too in depth at this point. So let's keep going. What did you think of the whole hideout cave section?
Um, well, like I had said before, we were very stealthy. We didn't blunder and fight our way in. We snuck around. We didn't walk across. We just went slowly.
Oh yeah, I
So
remember a cool thing is you guys ended up like making a deal with the lesser goblins and then went on
yeah,
to fight the big bad,
and
which was a bugbear.
avoided we avoided fighting with the wolves.
So the bugbear was the first part of the combat where I really had to scale it back, and part of it I had to scale it back during the combat. Like he was way too strong for you two guys,
Yeah,
um, and you were getting kind of bad rolls too.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
got bad rolls and I got knocked out.
and you even had your goblin buddy with you too.
Yes, and he was actually more helpful than I in that fight.
Yeah, so I would say if you're a new DM, um, yeah, you gotta be careful of that section. I've actually heard that before from other videos and stuff that that cave it can be kind of difficult for new DMs to scale to the level of the party.
Sure.
Um, so I've also seen some advice from DMs saying like if you have to kind of mess with the numbers, um, it's generally not a good idea to like try to like fake your die rolls, but if you need to like lower the enemy's hit points on the fly and just say okay, this guy's, the next time the party hits him he's gonna die just because they're not gonna survive anymore. uh Depends on the type of DM you want to be. You want to like wipe the party out at the beginning and say okay, well, that's how D&D is. That's fine. But probably, especially if you're doing with new players, I would say you don't want to crush them like that on the first session. I think they're gonna get a get a frustrated feeling from something like that.
I can tell you I would have, yes.
Like you were down, and I think you were feeling kind of frustrated just from that.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, um, I'd say yeah, go easy on the new players
Now
if you're in that section.
we leveled up at the very end of that.
Yeah, I think that was suggested in the book also. So
Yeah.
the next section is Phandelin. So you go to Phandelin after that to, if you were able to, you guys managed to rescue Sildar, the captive. Uh,
Right.
it's possible he can die in there, obviously. D&D, anything can happen pretty much.
And
Discord.
then we took on a guest player as well.
Right. So
So
yeah, you guys went to Phandalin, and in the book is actually quite a detailed town. There's a lot of places to go and a lot of NPCs. I've seen some videos suggesting that you just cut a lot of the characters and actually combine some of them. On the regular player map, the buildings are not labeled, so you can kind of use the map in the book without using all the NPCs that they suggest you have. Um, I think one thing that I found a bit annoying was yeah keeping track of the NPCs, but also just like you guys wanted to go shopping a lot, and um now that we're later into the homebrew stuff, I added a ton of stores when you guys got to Neverwinter. But I think I have learned a lesson, which is uh you don't want to offer the players too much stuff for them to shop through, because a lot of it is not that important to the adventure. And also, um kind of, I think you generally want them to be wanting to go on adventures, leaving the town to go discover cool stuff. So if they're just like trying to get to town to buy, look for magic swords in the town, it kind of like dissuades them from going out on adventures in a way. Um, I've seen some people suggest that you combine the Stonehill in the Barthen's provisions and the um, Lion Shield Coster weapon store. Just have it like one stop shop for everything, so that you can just focus on one tavern keeper guy as the main person selling stuff. I don't know if I agree with all that. What do you think, what do you remember feeling about exploring Phandalin?
Oh, I I think when you have three different places that you are going to be really focused on trying to figure out what it is that is going to be relative to the story that you're supposed to do there. So each time you're at a new place and you're like in a different mode for what provisions or equipment and such, or connections, who you're talking to, how it's going
So
to relate
so did you like
further
that?
in.
Like when you go to the weapon shop, that you have this separate storekeeper there?
Yeah, yeah, it was fun, and it probably would have been okay to have them all together. It would have definitely um streamlined the play so far as us wandering around.
Yeah.
Would have gone faster.
Yeah. I don't think it was a huge issue though. But yeah,
I
as
don't.
especially with you guys being new players, you there's kind of a thing where it's like the players are not sure. They're like asking permission to go places. They're like, "DM, can I go to the
Yeah,
place now?" And you're like, yes." And then okay, so you walk down the street and then you go in. Uh, but you know what? I think part of it is when you're getting into D&D, you just have to accept that this is a slow game. Like, if you want to get it, make it immersive, like the feeling that you're in this town, you do kind of have to keep it slow and say, okay, yeah, you're walking down the road, you go open the door, and there's the guy. You don't need to like just. I also would say don't like try to make it sound like a novel. You're like the dusty
yeah,
road, the dust from the road goes on your shoes, and you can see the wind pushing the dust over towards the provision shop. I mean, maybe you do that once, but not like constantly. The
yeah.
book does have a little bit of flavor text for most of the stuff, like little places. They'll have a little bit of information, but most of it's left up to the DM to figure out.
Having an establishing description, a brief one anyway. It's kind of nice though because it's that's the stage, and it's easier to get into it if you have a mental picture of what's going to happen or what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult part of being a DM, is like being concise, not going too far, but also not rushing through everything. Because you don't want to rush through the town section really, because a lot of the like getting to know the NPCs and the people giving you quests and stuff is important part of it. Like if you don't care about those people, then why are you gonna do anything for them?
True.
All right, so part of the section of Phandalin is fighting the red brands. So that's actually, I thought that was a pretty cool section. Guys go through the mansion. There's a few ways well, there's at least two ways in to sneak in through the basement or come in through the top. And I thought it was pretty cool. They have a wizard character in there who's the main boss basically, but there's also a dangerous monster. And I think the adventure did a cool job of like playing them off of each other. Um, and yeah, let's just keep going on through. The next part is a little bit where it kind of gets open, and I think I could see this being a place where the adventure kind of could get bogged down a little bit, because you can go off to fight orcs and check out this banshee and a necromancer, and there's a village up north where, unbeknownst to the players, there is a dragon. Um, you guys did most of them, but you say we actually had you guys do Thunder Tree at the end of the campaign after you finished Wave Echo Cave. So I think that part is cool that those are optional. And yeah, you guys went through them pretty quickly and had some cool combat. Especially I think the at that point our other player Harvey had joined, and he showed off his strategy expertise on fighting those orcs, which was pretty cool. um Then there was Cragmaw Castle, which you guys had an interesting run through. Um, Once again, a pretty simple bad guy there. Nothing too complicated. You're basically trying to finally rescue Gundren, who's the one who sent you on the mission in the first place. So I could see a lot of groups would probably go there directly because they're worried about him dying. I might recommend that DM keeps a timeline from the very beginning, and it might be good to kind of set a expectation with your players. Like, okay, if you don't get to this place by this day, like Sildar thinks he's probably gonna be dead at that point. You know. Later on, DMing, I have found that giving the players a sort of a time limit is actually really good way to keep things moving, so that they're not just taking 8-hour rests every time they have a fight. So that can make most of the fights trivial if the players can just rest between every single fight. So if you can say, okay, maybe the bad guy in Cragmaw sends a letter to Phandelver saying like, give us something or other, or we're killing Gundren in this many days or something. That might be a cool thing to add. Not something I did, but yeah. Anyway, it was I think the map for that section is quite cool, and I like that part. Actually, generally I liked all the maps in the book, so I think they all worked out pretty well. The most open one is the next section, which is Wave Echo Cave. It's a very big open map. That one was a little bit more difficult to DM for because it's so open. I didn't know where you're gonna go, and there's a lot of different enemies and situations in there.
Yeah.
You guys went on pretty. It wasn't too crazy the route you took. I think the craziest route you guys did was the one in Tressendar Manor. You guys went in a pretty weird way. But yeah, Wave Echo Cave, it has a couple interesting things. One being the main bad guy, the Black Spider. There's a flame skull. And then there's a spectator and a wizard who are having kind of a grudge against each other in a way. The wizard is sending you the dead. It's a wraith actually, right? Mormesk, I believe it was. He tells you to go fight this spectator, but you guys didn't really know. You didn't trust him, and I think that was one of the cool things you mentioned earlier about talking your way through it. That was a cool a good job of the book, like creating these characters who are playing off each other again. So I like when they do that in the book. It's something I haven't really done that much of in my campaign, but yeah, I think that's a very classic Dungeons and Dragons thing where you have a lot of you actually have like NPC monsters in a big dungeon that have some grudge against each other or something, and so the players kind of get to choose which side of the faction they're on. But either way, you're still like fighting monsters, and you're kind of it's kind of condensed, and you're kept contained into this dungeon. So it doesn't take a long time to like go back and forth between the groups. So that's kind of cool. Then I'd say the biggest problem with this adventure is the final bad guy, the Black Spider. In the book, he has no reason for doing anything. He's just the bad guy. He's trying to get the cave, basically. It doesn't tell you why. And doesn't explain very much about his connection with Cragmaw Castle and the Red Brands, but he is like in control of those groups. He's like paying them basically. But you kind of have to come up with your own ideas for that. So actually, want to mention this channel. There's a YouTube channel called Lunch Break Heroes that I took a couple of ideas from their suggestions. One being how to make the Thunder Tree section more interesting, and also this Black Spider. So they were suggesting that he had been turned into a Drider, which is a half drow, half spider, which is like like a punishment of the drow's god, like traditionally in D&D. So that was his suggestion. I had it so that he was a normal drow, but his wife had been turned into a Drider, so that he was looking for the Forge of Spells in order to transform her back into a normal dark elf. So
Right.
that was his motivation for coming up to the surface. And of course he had that sympathetic part, but he also was the bad guy. He was trying to take over the town and exploit the mine and sell everything out of it, and to have total control over Phandelver. So yeah, I think it's good to have a little bit of a sympathetic story for a bad guy, but you don't want to have. I think it's also okay to just have a bad guy doing bad things. So I kind of mixed them together. He had a somewhat sympathetic motivation, but his methods were very obviously evil. So the players wouldn't have a big problem with fighting him. So there's a little bit of depth I added to the character.
And you say you got that from another site?
Yeah, I got it from Lunch Break Heroes YouTube channel. He has done a lot of videos just talking about ideas for Phandelver, things that you could change, or things to
Okay.
expand things. Most of his are actually about expanding the book, not cutting things out. So I think that's
Sure.
all interesting that a lot of DMs have a different way of looking at it. Like some people are really trying to cut it down, other people are trying to expand it. But yeah, I would say if you're gonna run it, you're gonna want to like write down the connections between the NPCs, figure out a motivation for the Black Spider, and how he interacts with Glassstaff and the leader at Cragmaw Castle, whose name is escaping me right now. But yeah, cool. So I think that's we're done with the overview. Now I wanted to go more into Rokus's our elf ranger Rokus, talk about his experience going through the story. So we already talked about what you did pretty much on the way through the very beginning of the story. You guys went through the cave. You made a deal with a goblin to help you fight the bugbear, and then you were able to rescue Sildar. You got to town, and then we had our other player Jenny, who joined for a short time, Um, she helped you guys through the red brand section, and then after she stopped playing, we had Harvey join us. So, what was Rokus's experience fighting with the red brands like? What did you think of them?
Oh, it was pretty straightforward. Um, they were obviously bad, and we were the good guys, so we got to come in and just clean up the town, a la the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, that's another
Um,
thing. The Phandalin is very obviously modeled after like Deadwood or some kind of Wild West um, frontier town. So yeah, I think it would work well for the DM to keep that in mind and kind of play it as you guys are kind of like cowboys coming in. But I
yes,
think I think the Tressendar Manor itself was not that not it was actually a bit deep. It had a lot of stuff going on in there. It wasn't just the bandits hideout. What did you
okay,
think
yeah,
of that? Because you the first thing you guys encountered was you had Icy the druid. She came in as a mouse and got spotted by this one-eyed Nothic is the name of the monster, and it has true sight, so it was able to tell that she wasn't really a mouse, which was
right.
kind of startling to her, I believe.
Yeah, it was kind of spooky, and she was reckless in how she ran around. She was real lucky. She had a couple
That
lucky
is
rolls.
true. She ran between his
Um,
legs, and he could have definitely just squished her.
so after that, she played more cautiously. I think that got her attention, but it was interesting and fun. I had a side adventure um, after in there that was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot about that. So obviously that's something I added in. So you wanted to multi-class. So yeah, I repurposed the map to do this hide and seek thing where you learn to how to be a rogue.
Yes, and I had some really good rolls and lucked my way through that one.
You didn't get good rolls on your studying though, so you ended up like taking most of the night to do it. But yeah, I think you just barely managed to do it without like losing the whole night's sleep or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as the hide and seek went, I did well.
Another thing that's cool is you guys met a character who kept going on into our homebrew, which was Droop.
Yeah, I like Droop.
Yeah, they mentioned. I think they mentioned in the book. They say like, okay, Droop is a sympathetic character. It's possible that the players will want to take him along with them. But you guys didn't try to like make him part of the party because I think I made him seem pretty useless.
Yes.
But
Yeah, I thought you were steering us away from having him be an active member of the party.
yeah, I was. But if you guys had really loved him and decided like, oh, we're gonna train him, I guess it's possible. We could have done something with Droop. But he has his own
Um,
weird storyline that he ended up moving to Neverwinter and becoming a shoemaker cobbler. So
yeah,
kind of a
and
cool
I like
story that he went through.
yeah. We
He's
just
still in
kept
our
track
story.
of him and helped him out when we could, and that always felt good.
Yeah, I could feel when you were playing that was something you were getting into, kind of being the hero in that kind of way. What did you think of Glassstaff in there, the bad guy?
uh, we had um, sort of cornered him inadvertently, and were able to deal with him, and he wasn't able to escape. And I realized afterwards that we were lucky.
Yeah,
Um,
you went through a weird way. You came in the bottom and then went through the secret door,
right.
and then came
Jen,
out another
Jenny
secret
found,
door, right?
yeah, Jenny found the secret door, and we came in and we found his getaway stuff, his stash. Um,
Yeah, you
oh,
kind of cleared out, you
oh,
kind of cleared out most of the basement without like alerting the wizard, and then came through his secret door.
yep. So that could have been very different. Um, the other thing that was so early in it, we were using fire bombs that we made, um, and took a while to realize that even though they were fairly effective right then at the beginning of the game, that very soon that was just not going to be something we could rely on.
Right? Yeah, that was definitely. I remember saying kind of again and again, and like, okay, guys, like I know those fire things are cool, but like you're once you're past like level 2 and 3, um, just about
Yeah,
anything you do is gonna be better than that.
yeah, and we needed to be weaned off of our fire bombs,
Yeah.
but they were great. They were great there because I felt like we were outnumbered, and that was that we were able to get through with fairly effective methods of roasting roasting red brands and feeding them to the
Oh yeah,
creature.
I forgot about you were feeding them to the Nothic, but you ended up going in and clearing out the Nothic before you moved on to the next part. That's when you
Yeah,
guys got the magic sword to which got passed from Linnea, our dwarf played by Jenny, to Harvey who came in to replace her, which is kind of cool. That that
they
they had a
they were
passing of the torch, passing of the sword as
yeah.
they changed roles there. So yeah, the next section we had Harvey in with us, and he was a new player. You guys were still new, but you knew how to play at that point, and then we had to kind of get him to learn the game and also just learn like etiquette of the game, I guess. That
Yeah.
took a little bit of time, but so he came in on an open part section, so that might have also changed. I wonder if that might have been a different experience for him too, because he came in when you guys had a sort of a choice of where to go. But I think I'm pretty sure I remember I made sure you guys had chosen where to go before he joined, because I didn't want him to, as a new player, to come in and be like, I don't know where we should go. Like what?
Yeah.
So you guys went off and fought. You went and saw the necromancer. That's another thing that's not described very well in the book. Later, doing research, I found out. Oh, okay. So, like, the necromancy magic is not necessarily evil, but raising the dead as zombies is always considered evil. That part confused me. And then also, this guy was a red wizard, so that's apparently something I didn't know at that time. Was that's a like classic, uh, Forgotten Realms, faction of evil wizards. So you guys, if I had known all that stuff and said, oh, your characters know, like recognize all these things, you guys probably would have um not done deals with him and just fought him. But
Yeah.
yeah, that turned out interesting. You went out work. You kind of went working for him and the town person, trying to kill orcs. That's
No.
and that's another thing that's like in the book is it's very classic D&D where it's like orcs are evil, so you kill the orcs. But I think in a more modern view, where we're having orcs be sentient race that you can play as and stuff, like I think you as the DM you probably need to do a better job of like explaining that these guys are bandits or tearing the place
Yeah.
up, because otherwise you're like playing into this kind of racist stereotype sort of situation where it's like let's just kill these green skin people. And
Right.
I would suggest if you're a DM preparing this that you give them a little bit more of a evil motivation, so that it's not just go kill the orcs. You know.
Another thing that in traveling, there was the possibility of encountering things that was
Yeah, we had to
fairly
roll
obvious,
for that.
and that made it exciting. I like that because we never knew if we were gonna blunder into something dangerous when we were traveling. That was kind of cool. So we had to, if we set up camp, we were always trying to do it in such a way as we could defend ourselves and such.
Yeah, personally, yeah, I thought that was cool, and that's a very classic D&D thing. They have an old style of gameplay called a hex crawl, where you just have a hexagonal map, and each hex has a certain enemy type that's possible in there. And then
Uh-huh.
you roll the die to see if you encounter it. But I think there's a problem with that type, which is like if you just can keep doing it forever, it's gonna get repetitive because you're like, oh, I'm just fighting guys. I don't really care about why I'm fighting them. They're just getting in my way. So I kind of phased that out as you guys got higher level. But I think it makes sense for low level that
Sure.
traveling is dangerous. Now that you guys are like getting up
Super
level 5 and
badass.
yeah, level 5 and 6, obviously I
Yeah.
don't think goblins and bandits are going to pose much of a threat. And you're probably
Yeah.
not gonna just stumble across a ancient dragon walking down the road. So
Now,
yeah, I think that's a
it
cool
could
thing that
be,
you can take advantage of in this adventure because it's low level.
but when we, even at higher levels, we encountered griffins, and they were pretty badass.
Yeah, that one I had like pretty much. I was like, okay, the griffins are here. I'm gonna have them roll and find out. I was like pretty sure you guys would encounter them. I can't remember if I kind of had it as like a thing that's definitely gonna happen or not. But I had you guys roll to at least find out like when you're gonna run into them.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I didn't have a ton of different ones provided for that one.
Yeah. I liked the fact that they were very strong, but that mostly they just wanted something to eat.
Yeah, I think that's something you could probably add into the Phandelver thing. Is we had the owlbear, so you could use the
Yep.
owlbear for that purpose. But yeah, I
I
think
had,
it actually makes for a cool combat where you have basically fighting an animal who doesn't care about killing you, just wants to eat your horse, or maybe it smells your food when you're camping and it wants your food, something like that.
yeah.
Give the animal a motivation other than killing the party. So yeah, cool. Let's keep moving. Do you remember about the anything about fighting the orcs that was cool? I remember you guys got them in a choke point that, and you were shooting through a crack.
Yes.
That and
And then,
also yeah, that was something I had to. I kind of came up with that map on the fly, so that was cool. That worked out well. I drew up this map that I thought would work, and Harvey exploited a couple points in it in a cool way.
yeah. And that's typical Harvey. He's a strategist, and yeah, we definitely put them at a terrible disadvantage.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
that
one
was
part
cool
of
though.
that.
I like that.
One one thing that you did there that I thought was pretty awesome was the enraged ogre was smashed one of the bugbears to get at us.
Yeah, it was a orc. It was a orcs and ogres there. So he was like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he he waited patiently for a little bit, but then he couldn't hold it in any longer and smashed him.
That was pretty cool. I have to say, like, oh my gosh, he's pissed.
Yeah, you guys got out lucky too that he didn't smash any of you guys really.
Yeah,
You also had your NPC Vola with you that time.
right, right.
So
So we
she
had
was
two tanks holding them off while Icy and I were in a place they couldn't get to, pelting them with arrows from the side. I kind of wish they had. roll at advantage or something for flanking. Fire.
There are optional rules for flanking that people take from fourth edition, but yeah, in the book in
Okay.
fifth edition, there's no special stuff for flanking really. But I think in our next campaign, maybe we'll introduce some of that stuff.
Okay.
But yeah,
That'd be neat.
let's keep going. So you guys went to, I guess we didn't talk about it much, right? Right, the Cragmount Castle. You guys, Icy snuck around as a mouse and pretty much figured out the whole layout. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
Having a scout was really helpful.
that's another situation where you gotta be like, okay, D&D's a slow game. We're gonna have this fun character walk around the whole map and ask questions, and we're gonna, you know,
I think
slowly
she
do
did a good
this.
job. She made that interesting. It was fine.
Yeah, I think it was fine. That's the kind of the surprising part is for the DM. I'm like, oh, like everyone's gonna get bored, but no, it was fine, and you guys were very happy to have the map of the place laid out.
Yeah.
So you guys felt like you accomplished something, and it was cool,
Yep.
right? So that's one of those things you have to learn as a DM. Is like, don't try to rush through stuff. It's okay to go slow.
Also, it was an opportunity to have a player that was not strong in the actual battling ha have a real useful part of the party. And that's always feels good when it's balanced.
Yeah, there. One funny part in there was you guys had found the owl bear, and you guys kept talking about, oh, they probably like let it out at night, and it's gonna go like find us. But actually, it was just that they didn't know what to do with this owl bear they had found, and they were just keeping it imprisoned there, basically.
Right.
So
But we didn't know. So
you guys didn't know, and you guys are all worried about that owl bear. So I was just thinking to myself the whole time, just like, no,
that's
the
cool.
owl bear is just stuck in there.
Well, if we had not prepared and been careful on it, and that's what they were doing, we would have been in a awkward place.
Yeah. So you guys mapped it out. You snuck in, got Gundren out in the middle of the night, right? And then
Yeah, I
you,
forgot.
yeah. So you guys actually didn't even fight at the start. That was pretty cool. You guys could have gone off, but I think Sildar was encouraging you guys to clear out the place.
Yeah,
Or no, it wasn't Sildar. It was Gundren, the dwarf.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and I had a oh yeah, and this was a big moment for me as a DM. So I used the doppelgangers who could pretend to be other people, and
You
I
also kind
lured
of,
you into a trap, which I was very proud of.
yep, yeah. You had guys on the roof that were a pain,
Yeah,
and I think Harbeck had got knocked unconscious in that battle, which I think scared us all.
yeah, and I had you got attacked. Rokus got attacked by the doppelganger right away at the start.
Yeah, I got messed up.
So yeah,
So
that was
yeah,
pretty cool.
two of us took big hits on that.
In that section, you had a different NPC with you, which was Darius. So he was helping you guys
Uh-huh.
out. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's another thing. As for the DM, like you need to have probably about 4 players at low level. I feel like, or you can't deal with the adventure that well. I feel like you kind of need. You gotta let
You
them
got
have NPCs.
yeah, you fill in.
Yeah, I think the adventure's kind of made for at least 4 players. Otherwise, you gotta like put way fewer enemies, and then a lot of these places are gonna be like mostly empty. In that case.
And I would have to say, um, three three actual players and the DM controlling one. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of nice because you can steer things along a little bit. It's still feels like you're playing the game. Like
Yeah,
you
it's
have a,
that is definitely a difficult thing. We've had NPCs in your party a lot of times now.
but
Uh,
mostly they feel pretty neutral.
I try my best, but I think it
I,
is difficult to not just give your two cents constantly and say, okay, like I think you guys should be doing this.
yeah,
It's a
but
bit, but yeah, if you role play it well and say, okay, this is what this character knows, this is what this character wants, then
yeah.
and that's what they're gonna talk about. They're not gonna say what Ian, the DM, wants you to do.
I
Um,
remember
yeah.
I remember I had a rolled a one nat one when we were supposed to be sneaking, and you had described the situation where I had tripped and crashed, and Vola started laughing, which alerted our enemies, and they then came charging in, which was turned out to be the best thing. But it was great the way it unfolded. It was as a player, it was really fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, I think some people have a debate about like when you roll ones, like different groups are gonna react differently. Like some people don't really like it when you roll a one and then your character becomes a buffoon. Um, I think we usually play those for laughs a bit, and you guys seem to enjoy that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think we you don't need to. Your characters don't have to be that serious that they can't screw up sometimes.
Well, the other thing that we were doing was my brother and I, who are naturally harass each other constantly in real life, that was what our characters were supposed to be doing. So we really got into that.
Yeah, we had elf and dwarf racial tension going on. I encouraged you guys to tone that down as we went forward because I said
We're
yeah
supposed to be becoming a team.
yeah I said it doesn't make if you actually hate each other then it doesn't make sense that your characters would stick together. So look for opportunities to get to like each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I think
Well, I
it
was
worked
fine
out.
with it being playful. Harbeck got a little bit nasty, it seemed to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, when we got to the second part of the adventure, Harvey started playing into his nobility a lot more. Once we got to
Yeah.
the city, which was interesting and surprising. I was impressed for a playing with a scientist who was very analytical about a lot of things. That he actually got into the role playing a lot more than I expected.
Yeah, in an annoying, naughty, aristocratic way.
That's true, I guess. All right, so let's head on to the last part and wrap up this video here. So you guys went back to town. At that point, so I mentioned the NPCs. That's another thing I added in was the Lord's Alliance involvement. Um, I had the Lord's Alliance come in and kind of secure the town because I was trying to make it seem like the bad guys were a threat. So you guys needed to have some assurance that the town was safe, right? So that was part of your guys saving the town was like making sure that there was the Lord's Alliance came in to become guards and everything. You guys had
I did,
like a funeral, and you guys helped out the townsfolk with some of their interpersonal stuff. So a lot of that stuff was not included in the book as adventure stuff, but you guys spent a good amount of time dealing with the townsfolk and stuff. So, what did you think of all of that?
well, I definitely, by the time we cleared everything out, it felt like sort of like it was our town. And I didn't know you had added that in, but it was definitely good to feel like we left it in a stable way.
Yeah, there's no suggestion in the book at all about the Lord's Alliance coming to turn the place into an outpost, basically. That was
Yeah.
all
Or
stuff. Yeah.
even if that hadn't happened, it could have been that the miners and the town folk got together and built a stockade or something to secure the place, make it so when you left, it was not feeling so vulnerable.
Mm. The only thing with that was like I had kind of made a point of the fact that the townsfolk were like useless in fighting because you guys were trying to kind of recruit them for
Yeah.
doing stuff. So I felt like okay, I've kind of portrayed them as totally useless in fighting, so I have to have some group from outside to come in.
Well, they could build stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, yeah.
Anyway, cool.
And as a new player, we didn't know. You know,
Yeah,
seemed
yeah,
like let's get the townspeople together. And it's like, no, no.
yeah. I was like, okay, even at level 1, you guys are like you know superhuman
Right.
in the fact that you can do spells and so on.
And later on when we encountered regular people, then I actually got to the point where I sort of felt strutting around. I remember feeling very unintimidated by common characters
Yeah,
that
when you
were,
got to Neverwinter and went to the market and there were people picking on your friend Droop, you guys were like, "Oh, okay.
yeah, watch out.
I know how wimpy these normal people are." Like,
Yeah, yes,
so I always play them. I play them as ignorant of what you guys are until you guys kind of show off a little bit. Doesn't take a lot
yeah,
of showing off for them to realize that they can't deal with you guys.
yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, and then yeah, I was trying to get us to the last part. Wave Echo Cave,
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
big ass map.
And we got hurt at the very beginning of it, so that kind of
Oh,
freaked us out.
yeah, the Sturges were a big thing. And
Yeah.
Harvey, our scientist, was very interested about the biological situation with the Sturges. So I kind of played into that a little bit, but yeah, I think that's something that I'd say it's up to the DM's discretion, but like they don't give a very amazing explanation of the creatures, why the creatures are in this cave. Um, Most of it's like, oh, there was a big battle hundreds of years ago, so there's a lot of undead stuff in here. That's basically what it is. But
Okay.
if there's a scientist in your group and they're gonna be asking about how did the Sturgis, why are the Sturgis here? Like, what are they eating? Where are their droppings? You're gonna have to think of something on your own for that, because obviously that's not in the book. There's also a funny part I remember that I was kind of happy to just say, hey, you know what? The book is written weirdly in this section, which was in area 10. It says, there's a still pool of water, and then it says, the water is flowing out of the room down this thing. And it's like, how, what? How's it
How can
still if
still
it's
water
flowing?
flow out? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what that's all about.
I
That was one
when
where
you
I
were
just said, you know what, Harvey, this is just written like that, and I don't know.
well, you could have a pool that was for the most part deep and still in one area, and then it had a outlet where the water flowed, but that was
I feel like it's not
localized.
quite big enough for it to be like that, like a lake or
Mm,
something.
well,
Well, anyway,
I don't
I
remember being I don't remember being distracted about the description.
okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's a thing. That's a thing that a lot of DMs have problems with. Is like, how realistic does this need to be? And in general, it's probably a waste of your time to figure out what the creatures are eating and where they came from.
Yeah,
If you want to make it more realistic, it's good. It is. I think it's there. People appreciate some of that, but a lot of it's just not gonna be asked, and you're gonna waste your time figuring out.
yeah.
Like, most
Now,
people know. Okay, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons. We're gonna fight some monsters. Like, we're here to fight some monsters. If they're,
now the
not worried too much about where they came from, unless it's like a plot point in the story.
now I think the plot point that developed from um, Harbeck's interest in the Sturge droppings was he wanted potassium nitrate.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. That was another situation though where I had to be like, okay, you guys can make gunpowder, but it's not like
Not
gunpowder
something
in
these
our
characters
world, and it's also
these
not something your
characters
guys are. Yeah, your characters
yeah,
aren't alchemists. They don't know how that stuff works.
right. And you it was fine. You had to remind us that we were had characters that had limited knowledge.
Right. Yeah, Harvey still has a hard time with that. Like, his character is educated, but he's a priest. He's a paladin. He
Yeah.
knows a lot about history and religious stuff. He definitely does not know anything about chemistry.
And this is like a flip-flop of the actual
Yeah, character
character.
Harvey and his player. The player Harvey and character Harvick don't have a lot in common.
Yeah. That is for sure.
Uh,
Whereas Rokas and his player are pretty well aligned.
yeah. So, what do you remember about Wave Echo Cave? You guys fought undead. You fought some skeletons. You picked a lock. That was cool.
Yeah. And we had sort of set some traps. At one point, I realized, and it was actually a pretty important uh, mechanical thing where I was able to create cover. Um, I'd pulled tables and stacked them up so I
Yeah, that was
had
cool.
a vantage point where I could shoot from. Uh, so that was good on a couple counts where I could figure out better ways to keep my ranged character safer during the battles. And something we were fighting threw up like a bomb down it and really did a lot of damage. And it's
It was
like,
a
man, I'm glad I
fireball
was.
attack or something.
Yeah, it was really strong, and I was feeling really lucky that I was on the outside of it. My character wasn't strong enough to deal with it.
Yeah, I'd say this Wave Echo Cave, it's got a lot of stuff to explore. It's I don't really like it as much as the Manor or Cragmaw Castle though, to be honest.
It was a little bit busy.
It's a bit too busy, I think. But the highlight for me was the Mormesk, the Wraith, and the Spectator. That
Yeah,
that thing where they played off each other,
yeah, that was cool.
and you guys ended up um, talking your way out of it. That was another thing where it's like the Spectator is not. I don't think he's detailed that much. I might have gotten some ideas from a video again for this, where he's been there for so long that he's confused.
Well, in the conversation we were having with him, he would reset,
Yeah, that was
and I
something I
reckon,
came up with.
yeah, I recognized the way he was glitching. I'm like, okay,
I think Harvey
he's.
was the one who called it out originally.
I think I did.
Anyways, one of you guys.
We'll have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, we have it recorded, so we can
Yeah.
confirm. But
I went back
yeah,
listening, trying to I had an unidentified object, and I went back trying to figure out what it was. I listened to a lot of it over again. It was actually kind of fun to listen to.
Yeah, I'm glad we recorded it so we can check it out. Yeah, let's see. Here in the book it says the monster that guards the room is a spectator. One of the human wizards who worked in the Forge of Spells summoned the creature to guard the magic items created and stored here. When the mine was sacked, the orcs disturbed the delicate magic in the area, unhinging the spectator's grip on reality. It has become deranged and believed that the mine is still in use, ignoring all evidence to the contrary. So that's where I got the idea from. So it has a little
Yeah,
bit of a hint at that. So he still thinks everything's working. The whole like resetting thing was a clue that I came up with. So I had him spin around every once in a while
right.
where he was like confused. All right. So anything else? Did you want to talk about the black spider? I think that fight wasn't anything too amazing. I had the spiders on the ceiling dropping down. That was kind of cool. And
Yeah,
he did a command spell I think on Harvick to tell him to leave at the start of the fight.
yeah,
That was kind of cool. But
yeah.
other than that, that combat, the room there, and his because he didn't have any really crazy spells or anything. I think that battle
I,
took a while, but
yeah, I think that was one of my first times that I used I had prepared an action
oh yeah,
because
that
he
was cool. So yeah, he was. I had him ducking in and out, and then basically the only way for you to hit him was doing prepared actions.
yeah. And I don't remember doing it before that, but I was getting frustrated. I'm like, ah, if he jumps back out, I need to shoot him.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a kind of a interesting mechanic that it's not obvious at first because it's a turn-based game. So it's like, oh, my character can run out and do something and then hide. So he's not visible on your turn. So then you're thinking like, well, how am I supposed to hit this guy then? So yeah, there's a
Right.
way, which is you don't do anything right now, but you prepare your action. Gotta wait for him to pop out.
And I think somebody disabled him, or Harbeck maybe had cast some spell that held him in place once he was out.
I'm
And
not sure
also,
if that happened at that point.
might have been a different battle.
But you
Also,
did shoot at him while he was invisible, which in the
right at
rule book
distance.
is all you do is just get disadvantage. So it's actually
Yep.
pretty easy to target invisible creatures actually. Okay, so basically you guys finished the adventure. You are successful heroes. You saved the day. You got two of the three Rockseeker brothers back, and you basically finished the storyline. There wasn't really much of a reason for you guys to go to the last location, Thunder Tree, which was a side quest basically. Um,
There was there was um there was something hidden there that we had to
yeah,
find.
it was a reward though, so
And yeah,
it
an
wasn't like a
heirloom.
big motivation. It's just like you want to
Yeah,
get some extra money, go to Thunder Tree, get this necklace.
yeah.
So that was one I changed a lot.
Oh, okay.
The druid is supposed to be there, who is supposed to kind of help you through the village. Instead, I did a Resident Evil style journal of all his days leading up to his death, where he was fighting with these um, blights. So in the book, they have these twig blights, um, and not much explanation of why. It's just there's some magical plant guys around. There's these ash zombies, and there's a dragon. They don't have much to do with each other.
Well, there was a tree.
Well, that wasn't in the book, so I added that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that was the coolest thing there.
yeah. So I got that idea. It was definitely from a video. I got the idea of using this Golthius tree. Someone said, I saw a couple different videos where they're saying, okay, let's have the druid there be the antagonist, a bad guy. Let's do this and that. One of the ideas was the Golthius tree. I think it was the same guy, Lunch Break Heroes. Might have been someone else. But yeah, I followed an idea that the reason the blights were there was because of this tree. So I think in the video they had said like, okay, let's have the druid be evil, and he's planting this tree. My version was he kind of did it sort of accidentally because he was trying to fight with the dragon.
Right, and it got out of control.
Yeah. Yeah, so Golthius Tree is something in D&D already. They have it in a different adventure book called The Curse of Strahd. I didn't use the one from the book. I just I made some kind of homebrew idea for the Golthius Tree. But yeah, it's basically an undead vampiric tree.
It was creepy.
Yeah. I was also imagining the tree from the movie Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. I had that feel from it too.
Yeah. So that was the start of me adding more homebrew stuff, and also a lot of my homebrew tends to be horror related. uh, so yeah, you had this creepy tree, which was kind of a big battle. We had Jenny came back for one session to play with you guys for that, but she was too
Yeah.
busy to keep going.
One thing on that battle, what was cool was that I was afraid that it was gonna spawn new stuff, so I attacked the tree, and everybody in the party followed suit, which I was
Yeah,
glad. I was glad they.
I believe that's what it was, gonna keep spawning the little guys too. So you guys figured that out.
Yeah, but we had to kind of like ignore them and get rid of the tree, or we're just gonna have more and more of them.
And then the final thing of the book was fighting the dragon, which is actually on the cover of the book. The cover of the book is the green dragon fight, which is funny because it's a side quest thing. But
Yeah,
you guys whipped its butt. Like you guys had a pretty good strategy. You got to the windows, and you guys just lit it up so much that in the book I think it suggested that at half health he's gonna flee, and basically by the time his turn came around he was already at half health. You guys
come
snuck
back
up on
here.
it, got advantage, and got some good rolls. And he just, I think he flew up, and I was gonna have him attack, and then you guys kept hitting him, and then
I, I,
he had to
I
get out
stepped
of there.
out. Yeah, I stepped out and hit him again with another good round.
Yeah. So yeah,
Having
he flew off. He's still out there somewhere. Maybe he will show up again, or maybe you guys
yeah,
can go look for him or something. Depends if you want to do that. But yeah, that was the end, and then we went off to do Neverwinter in our second adventure. So
it
yeah,
was a good good way to end it.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's a cool book, and we had a fun story going through it. Um, I learned a lot of how to run the game by reading the book. I'm glad I did that first. I think like starting off with homebrew would be quite difficult now that I have done it. I'm glad I started with the book, and yeah, I think there's still now that I've done a bunch of our own storyline. I think there's still things I can learn looking back at this. Like, I really like how they had a couple of those dungeons where the characters are like playing off of each other and stuff in there. Um, One thing that they don't have in the book at all is puzzles, and I added a few puzzles in my homebrew stuff now. You've gone through some dungeons
Yeah,
with puzzle doors and such. I was pretty surprised that the book seemed very classic, but it didn't really have any of that. It had traps, Traps are another classic D&D thing. I haven't had
Yeah,
much of traps in my stuff. But
it's
yeah,
good to throw one in every now and then to keep us from just stomping around without paying attention.
yeah. The problem is if you overdo it, then the players are just like looking like every 5 feet, like saying, "Okay, I'm looking for traps here."
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I guess we'll wrap this up. So, any final thoughts? I pretty much just said mine.
you might find new players that you would not expect to get into something like D&D that it might surprise you. Um, my scientist analytical to death brother is a great example of someone that you wouldn't if you were talking to a group of people you would pick him out as the one that you don't imagine enjoying playing D&D, but he got into it and had a good time with it.
Yeah, I think that was really cool too. Yeah, none of you guys are probably the audience that they're going for most of the time.
Well, I play more video games and stuff than the other two.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, yeah. I think the adventure didn't have anything that would drive anyone away. Like, it's fine for any kind of group. I think. I don't think
Yeah,
there's any content in there that's like too challenging or offensive or really dark or anything that's gonna bother people. It's pretty like classic fantasy stuff.
well, actually, that was kind of funny. Our druid and when Jenny was playing her part, those two were pretty bloodthirsty, and it's really not their characters at all. But they were getting into that too.
Yeah, that's funny.
Um,
All right, cool. Well, thanks for doing the video with me, Richie. And so, anybody who's watched all this long video, please give me a like, comment below, tell me what you think of the game. Are you planning on buying this book? Are you gonna run it? Are you a DM? Is any of our advice helpful to you? Just any comment you want to give, I will be happy to read it. And so yeah, if you want to watch the video series, we have the Sword Coast Adventures, which is the homebrew second part, and the first part is just written as Lost Mine of Phandelver, 29 episodes. If you want to see what we did, you can watch it there. And yeah, that's all. See you guys next time. Bye bye.